In tears, she signed the divorce papers. 6 years later, the billionaire met their son. Hello everyone. Before we begin today's story, I have a small favor to ask. Please hit subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you never miss our channel's new videos. It is quick, free, and the best way to support us in bringing you more dramatic stories. Your support means the world to us. Where are you watching from? Drop your city or country in the comments below. Thank you very much. Now, let us return to our main character. The rain was relentless that night, hammering against the glass walls of the downtown law office as if trying to drown out the silence between them. Evelyn Carter sat perfectly still across the polished mahogany table, her trembling hand hovering above the final page of the divorce agreement. Her lipstick was smudged, her eyes raw from crying, but her spine stayed straight, proud even as her heart shattered. Liam Hart, the man she once called her husband, stood by the window, his reflection blurred in the rain-soaked glass, unreadable. The city lights painted him in fragments, gold, gray, gone. "Sign it," he said quietly, his tone flat, businesslike. "Let us end this properly." Evelyn swallowed hard. Properly? Liam, there was nothing proper about our marriage. It was a deal, a deadline, a contract, he cut in, his voice sharp, final. "And the contract is over." Quote. For a moment, she looked at him, not the cold CEO, not the man in the tailored charcoal suit, but the one who had once carried her to the emergency room when her father collapsed. The one who used to stay up with her until 3 a.m., pretending to study company reports while secretly sketching on her art pad. That man had disappeared somewhere between board meetings and broken promises. Her hand shook as she pressed the pen to paper. The ink bled slightly where a tear fell. Each signature felt like a nail sealing her own coffin. Liam turned away before she could look up. "You will receive the final settlement by Monday. Take care of yourself, Evelyn." That was it. No goodbye, no hesitation, just business. She almost told him then, about the test hidden in her purse. The 2 faint lines that had turned her world upside down just an hour before this meeting. But pride is a cruel guard dog. It keeps the heart safe, but it bites hard. So instead, she reached into her bag, pulled out the pregnancy test and tore it in half. The plastic cracked sharply in the quiet room, echoing louder than her sobs. Liam flinched but said nothing. The lawyer's assistant, awkward and pale, looked away as Evelyn gathered her things. When she stood, her chair scraped against the marble floor like a scream. "I hope you find what you are looking for," she said softly. Liam's jaw clenched. "I already have." That was a lie, and they both knew it. Evelyn walked out into the storm without an umbrella. The wind whipped her coat open as the rain soaked through the thin fabric. The city was merciless, honking horns, flashing lights, people rushing past with their own tragedies. She kept walking, one step after another, until she reached the crosswalk where they had first met. The traffic light flickered between red and green, as if it too could not decide whether to stop or go. She looked up at the gray sky and whispered, "You win, Liam." Across the street, through the curtain of rain, Liam watched her go. His hand was still in his pocket, clutching the wedding ring he could not bring himself to leave on the table. He should have felt free. Instead, for the first time in years, he felt hollow. Somewhere deep down, something told him that tonight was not an ending at all. It was the beginning of a reckoning. And Evelyn alone, soaked, and unknowingly carrying a secret, had just stepped into the storm that would change both of their lives forever. The next morning, the world looked the same, but nothing in Evelyn Carter's life was. The rain had stopped, leaving the city washed clean, as if mocking the mess inside her chest. She stood at the small window of her apartment, staring at the gray skyline. Her eyes were swollen, her hair still damp from the storm. On the kitchen counter sat a half-empty mug of coffee and a folded envelope from the lawyer's office. Her name, Evelyn M. Carter, was printed neatly on it, as if permanence could be typed on paper. She should have felt free. Instead, she felt weightless, like a leaf detached from the branch that gave it meaning. She traced her fingers along the envelope, but did not open it. What was there to read that she did not already know? Divorce final. Settlement complete. Love terminated. Across town, Liam Hart's penthouse overlooked the skyline. The glass walls reflected his life perfectly sharp, reflective, cold. He stood before a mirror, tying his black tie for the Monday board meeting. The morning news hummed in the background, another anchor talking about market trends and corporate mergers. It was his language, his world, yet today, it all felt foreign. Claire, his personal assistant, entered quietly. "Mr. Hart, your driver is ready. The meeting with the board has been moved up 30 minutes. Liam nodded without looking up. "Cancel the morning calls. Reschedule for tomorrow." Claire hesitated. "Sir, everything all right?" He gave a short, practiced smile. "Everything is fine." It was a lie, but lies were easier than feelings. He had built an empire on control, on numbers that always added up. But people Evelyn had never been predictable. Down on the street, Evelyn walked to the art supply store she worked at part-time. It paid little, but it gave her something to do other than think. The shop smelled of paint, paper, and dust-honest smells, grounding ones. Her manager, Mrs. Lawson, a kind woman in her 50s, gave her a worried glance. "You look pale, dear. You all right?" Evelyn forced a smile. "Just did not sleep much." "Want me to make you tea?" She shook her head. "No, thank you. I will be fine." Fine. That word again. The same word Liam had used. Fine was what people said when they were broken but too proud to admit it. By late afternoon, the ache in her stomach returned a dull cramp she had ignored for days. Maybe stress, maybe more. She pressed a hand against her abdomen, whispering to herself, "I cannot think about that right now." At the same time, Liam was sitting in a boardroom surrounded by executives. Charts flashed on screens, voices droned about profits. He should have cared. But his mind kept drifting back to the sound of that plastic test breaking in half. The sound had not left him. He told himself it meant nothing. Yet every time he blinked, he saw her face under that harsh office light, eyes wet but defiant. He excused himself mid-meeting. "Handle the rest without me." His colleagues exchanged confused looks but said nothing. When a man like Liam Hart left the room, no one dared to stop him. Outside, he stood in the parking garage, the echo of his footsteps the only sound. He reached into his pocket and pulled out the gold wedding band he had meant to leave on the table last night. It was still there, warm from his skin. He stared at it for a long time before slipping it back into his pocket. Some things were easier to keep than to let go. That night, Evelyn sat on her small balcony, sketching absent-mindedly under the flickering streetlight. Her fingers moved on instinct, drawing what her mind refused to say. When she finally looked down at the page, her breath caught. She had drawn Liam, his face half-shadowed, the rain behind him, the ring still on his hand. She tore the page out, but instead of throwing it away, she folded it neatly and tucked it inside her journal. Across the city, Liam poured himself a glass of whiskey and stared at his reflection in the dark window. He looked every bit the successful man, yet the silence around him was unbearable. He whispered almost to himself, "You win, Evelyn." He did not know she had whispered the same words last night, miles away, under the same storm. Neither of them realized that the distance they thought would heal them was only beginning to write a story neither could escape. 6 years later, the city had changed, but the ache of that night still lived somewhere deep in Evelyn Carter's chest. She had moved to a small coastal town 3 hours away, where mornings began with ocean wind instead of traffic noise. Her apartment was modest white curtains, sun-faded walls, and the scent of acrylic paint. On the table sat a row of sketchbooks filled with color and quiet emotion. In the corner, a little boy hummed to himself while drawing on the floor. "Noah," she said gently, "remember not to press too hard on the crayons." "Yes, Mom," the boy replied without looking up. His hair was dark, his eyes bright blue, the same shade as Liam Hart's. Evelyn watched him for a moment, her throat tightening with a mix of love and guilt. She had built a new life around the one truth she had never told anyone. Her job at the community art center kept her busy, teaching children to express what words could not. People in town saw her as the quiet teacher with kindness in her smile. No one knew that every night after Noah fell asleep, she stared out at the waves and wondered if Liam ever thought of her. That morning, as she packed their lunchboxes, Noah looked up and asked a question that froze her in place. "Mom, do I have a dad?" The knife slipped in her hand, hitting the cutting board with a dull thud. She turned slowly, her heart pounding. "Why do you ask that, sweetheart?" "At school, everyone talks about their dads. Some of them say their dads build houses or fix cars. What does mine do?" Evelyn knelt down to his level, brushing a strand of hair from his forehead. "Your dad? He was very smart. He worked with big companies in the city." "Do you think he misses us?" Noah asked. Evelyn hesitated. "I think some people do not know how to show what they feel. But that does not mean they do not care." Noah nodded, satisfied with the answer, and ran off to grab his backpack. Evelyn exhaled shakily. It was the same answer she gave herself every night, even when she no longer believed it. Meanwhile, in Manhattan, Liam Hart sat in a glass conference room, overlooking the skyline that once defined his success. The company was larger than ever, Hart Dynamics, now led in global tech acquisitions, but his life outside those walls was as hollow as the polished floor beneath him. He dismissed his assistant early and walked to his office balcony, hands buried in his pockets. The city stretched endlessly, glittering with ambition and noise, yet all he felt was the same silence that had followed him for 6 years. He had dated women, smiled for photos, hosted charity galas, but no one ever reached him the way Evelyn had. Sometimes he caught himself searching crowds, thinking he saw her face. Every time, it was someone else. That evening, as he reviewed a list of charitable proposals, one file caught his attention. The Harbor Art Center, community program for children. The grant request included photographs of smiling kids holding paintbrushes and colorful murals signed E. Carter. Liam stared at the name for a long time. E. Carter, he whispered. It could not be her, but his pulse quickened anyway. Across the country, Evelyn locked up the art center, her hands still stained with paint. She looked at the bulletin board where the town's summer festival poster hung. Charity Gala sponsored by Hart Dynamics. It read in bold letters. The event was coming to their town in 2 weeks. Her heart stuttered. Of all the companies, of all the sponsors, why his? That night, after Noah fell asleep, she opened her old journal, the one she had kept since the divorce. Inside was the folded sketch she had drawn of Liam 6 years ago. The paper had yellowed, the edges worn, but the image still carried that same quiet sorrow. She traced the outline of his face with her fingertips, whispering, "I hope you never find out." But fate, as it often does, had already set its plan in motion. As the waves rolled outside her window, a single thought haunted her. What if he came back? And if he did, could she face him again without breaking? Have you ever walked away from someone you still loved, just to protect your pride? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. The morning of the charity gala arrived with the smell of sea salt and tension in the air. The small coastal town buzzed with excitement. Banners lined the streets, reading Harbor Hope Festival, sponsored by Hart Dynamics. Evelyn Carter adjusted the art display tables under the white event tent, pretending her hands were steady. She had told herself she would not go near the main stage. She would simply set up the children's artwork and leave quietly before the program began. Noah stood beside her, proudly holding his drawing. "Mom, do you think the people from the city will like my painting?" "They will love it," she said softly, straightening the corner of his paper. "You did it from your heart, and that is what matters." But her heart raced every time she heard a car door close, or a voice with that deep, confident tone that used to belong to Liam. She told herself it was impossible that he would attend in person. Men like him sent assistants to small-town events. Men like him had long forgotten women like her. Still, when the luxury black sedan pulled up at the edge of the square and cameras began to flash, Evelyn froze. The door opened. Liam Hart stepped out. He looked exactly the same and completely different all at once. The same tailored presence, the same calm authority, but his hair was shorter, his eyes sharper, colder. The crowd murmured in awe as he shook hands with the mayor. Evelyn ducked behind one of the art displays, her pulse hammering in her ears. "Mom?" Noah whispered, tugging at her sleeve. "Who is that man?" "Everyone is looking at him." Evelyn forced a smile. "He is just someone important for the event. Do not go near, all right?" Noah nodded, but curiosity was stronger than obedience. As Evelyn turned to arrange another easel, Noah slipped away into the crowd. The moment she realized he was gone, panic shot through her chest. She spun around, searching for his small frame among the moving bodies. Noah had wandered toward the main stage, drawn by the tall man giving out small gift bags to children. Liam knelt down to greet them, his smile polite, practiced. When Noah reached him, he tripped on the edge of the platform and fell forward. Liam caught him instantly. "Whoa, easy there," Liam said, steadying the boy. "You all right, little man?" Noah looked up, wide-eyed. "Thank you, sir." Liam smiled faintly, something strangely familiar tugging at him. "What is your name?" "Noah," the boy replied confidently. Liam's expression changed, almost imperceptibly. That name, it pierced him like a whisper from another life. He studied the boy's face, the blue of his eyes, the small scar above his brow. A chill ran down his spine. "Where is your mom, Noah?" "She is right over there," Noah said, pointing toward the art tent. Liam followed the direction of the little hand. For a moment, the world fell away. There she was, Evelyn Carter, standing frozen, Her eyes locked on him, her lips parted in disbelief. The noise of the festival faded to nothing. Liam stood slowly, still holding Noah's hand. "Evelyn," he said under his breath. She did not move. Every muscle in her body screamed to run, but her feet refused. 6 years of silence collapsed into that single moment. Evelyn finally stepped forward, voice trembling. "Noah, come here." The boy ran to her, holding her hand. Liam took a step closer. "He is yours," he said quietly. "Is he?" Her breath caught. "This is not the time or the place, Liam." "Then when?" he demanded, his tone still low but edged with pain. "You disappeared without a word. And now I find my own reflection staring back at me." Evelyn's eyes glistened. "Do not do this here." But the truth was already in the air, alive and undeniable. Liam looked at the child again, then at her, and for the first time since the divorce, his voice faltered. "You should have told me." Evelyn turned away, her voice barely a whisper. "You were the one who ended us." And as the crowd's applause rose in the background, both of them stood still, caught between past and present, love and pride, and a truth that could no longer stay hidden. The festival ended hours ago, but the storm inside Evelyn Carter had just begun. She drove home in silence, the soft hum of the car barely drowning out the sound of her racing heartbeat. Noah sat in the back seat, half asleep, his small hand still clutching the souvenir bag from the gala. His innocent smile in the rearview mirror made Evelyn's chest ache. He had no idea that his life had just changed forever. When they arrived home, she tucked him into bed and sat on the edge of the mattress for a long moment. He stirred, mumbling, "Mom, the man from the gala, he looked like me." Evelyn froze, brushing his hair gently. "Get some sleep, sweetheart. We can talk tomorrow." Quote, but there would be no peace tonight. After closing his door, she went to the kitchen, poured herself a glass of water, and leaned against the counter. Her reflection in the window looked pale, older, tired. She whispered to herself, "He saw him. He knows." Across town, in the luxury hotel suite overlooking the harbor, Liam Hart stood at the window, staring into the night. The waves crashed against the rocks below, a rhythm that matched the chaos inside him. His assistant Claire entered quietly. "Mr. Hart, the press loved your appearance. The foundation received record donations tonight." Liam did not turn around. "Send them my thanks." Claire hesitated. "And the woman from the art center, Evelyn Carter? Do you want me to find out more about her?" He finally faced her, his expression unreadable. "No need. I already know who she is." Claire frowned slightly. "Is everything all right?" He gave a hollow smile. "Everything is exactly as it should be." When she left, he sank into the chair, elbows on his knees, staring at his hands. The memory of Noah's face haunted him, the same blue eyes, the same stubborn tilt of the chin. There was no denying it anymore. The boy was his son. The next morning, Evelyn arrived at the art center early, hoping to lose herself in work. She had just finished setting up the paints when the door opened. Liam stood there, perfectly composed in his dark suit, his presence filling the room. Her breath caught. "You cannot be here." "I am not here for a scene," he said calmly. "I just need to understand why." "Why what?" she asked, crossing her arms. "Why you left without telling me? Why you hid him?" Her hands trembled. "Because you made it clear that our marriage meant nothing. You said no feelings, no future, no attachments. I was already halfway out the door when I found out I was pregnant. You would have called it a complication." Liam stepped closer, lowering his voice. "You should have let me decide that." "Decide?" Evelyn snapped, eyes shining with tears. "You made every decision, Liam. You decided when we married, when we ended it, and when you stopped caring. For once, I chose something for myself, for him." The silence that followed was heavy. For a moment, he looked like the man she used to know, not the billionaire who built walls out of pride. Finally, he said softly, "I want to know him. He deserves that." Evelyn shook her head. "He deserves stability. You live in a world that changes with headlines. I will not let him be part of that chaos." Liam's jaw tightened. "I will not walk away this time, Evelyn." She turned away, her voice barely audible. "You already did. Go on." He exhaled sharply, the sound caught between anger and regret. Without another word, he left the room, the door closing like a final punctuation mark. When he was gone, Evelyn's knees gave out, and she sank to the floor, covering her face with her hands. Outside, the sun was rising over the harbor, but for her, it felt like another long night had just begun. At that same moment, Liam walked along the pier, the wind tearing at his suit jacket. For 6 years, he had told himself that losing her was her choice. Now he realized it had always been his mistake. And the price of that mistake had his own eyes and called another man Dad. Days passed, but neither of them could return to the lives they had before. Liam Hart stayed in the coastal town, extending his trip under the excuse of reviewing business operations. But the truth was simpler. He could not walk away from Evelyn or from the boy who carried his face. Every morning, he found himself standing at the same cafe across from the community art center, coffee growing cold in his hand, waiting for a glimpse of them. He watched as Evelyn arrived early, unlocking the doors, hair tied loosely, sunlight catching the copper in her eyes. Sometimes, he saw Noah running ahead of her, laughing as he carried his backpack that seemed too big for his small shoulders. It was ordinary, yet it hit Liam harder than any boardroom victory ever had. One afternoon, fate intervened. The rain started suddenly, sending parents rushing to pick up their children from the art center. Evelyn was closing up when Noah ran out to rescue a paper sculpture from getting wet. Liam, who had been across the street, reacted instinctively. By the time Evelyn shouted Noah's name, Liam was already there, scooping the boy out of the puddle before a car could splash them both. "Got you," he said softly, holding the startled child close. "Noah blinked vid. Thank you, mister." Evelyn ran over, breathless. "Noah, are you all right?" "I am fine, Mom," he said proudly. "He saved me." Liam met her eyes, rain dripping from his hair. "Seems I have a habit of catching what you almost lose." Evelyn looked away, voice tight. "You should not be here." But she still took off her scarf and handed it to him. "You are soaked. Here." Quote. Their fingers brushed as he took it, and something electric pulsed in the air between them, old, familiar, and painful. Later that evening, when Noah had gone home with a neighbor, Liam returned to the art center. Evelyn was cleaning up the supplies, trying to look busy. He leaned against the doorway, the wet scarf folded in his hand. "You did not have to return that," she said without looking up. "I know," he replied, stepping inside. "I came to say thank you for what you said earlier about him deserving stability. You are right." She froze mid-motion, sensing the change in his tone. "I spent years chasing control, power, and titles," Liam continued. "But every night, it felt emptier. When I saw him today," his voice faltered, "when I saw you both, it reminded me what I lost when I let pride speak louder than love." Evelyn set the brush down slowly. "Do not say things you will regret later." Quote. "I am not here to win you back, Evelyn," he said quietly. "Not yet. I just want to be part of his life, even if all I can be is a name he knows." The vulnerability in his voice disarmed her. For years, she had built armor around herself, brick by brick. Now, one honest sentence from him made a crack she could not ignore. "You think you can just walk in and fix everything?" she asked, trying to sound cold. "No," he said, shaking his head. "But I can start by not walking away again." Quote. They stood there, the silence stretching between them, broken only by the soft hum of the rain outside. Finally, Evelyn sighed. "He has an art show next week. It is small, just for the kids and their parents. If you really want to start somewhere, start there." Liam's chest tightened, gratitude flickering in his eyes. "I will be there." As he turned to leave, she called out, almost involuntarily. "Liam." He stopped, waiting. "Do not disappoint him," she said softly. He looked back at her with a faint, almost broken smile. "That is the one thing I cannot afford to do again." When he was gone, Evelyn pressed her hand against her chest, feeling the weight of his words settle there. For the first time in years, she allowed herself to wonder if people truly could change after losing what mattered most. Do you believe people can truly change after losing what mattered most? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. The day of the children's art show arrived with golden sunlight pouring through the tall windows of the community center. Bright balloons hung from the ceiling, and the scent of fresh paint and cookies filled the air. Parents chatted, teachers arranged tables, and small voices echoed with excitement. Evelyn Carter adjusted a row of framed drawings, making sure every child's name was perfectly placed beneath their work. It was supposed to be a day of joy, but her chest was tight with nervous energy. She had invited Liam Hart, and part of her regretted it the moment she saw his name on the RSVP list. Still, deep down, she knew it was time for Noah to see the truth, not through explanations, but through actions. Noah's painting sat at the center of the display. It showed 3 figures holding hands under a bright blue sky. In a child's handwriting, he had written, "My family." Evelyn had asked him about the third figure once. He had shrugged and said, "It is a feeling, Mom. I think he is supposed to be here." That sentence had haunted her for days. When the doors opened, Liam entered quietly, dressed simply for once, no tailored suit, no bodyguards, just him. Parents turned to look, whispers spreading. The billionaire from the gala had returned, but he seemed different now, softer somehow. His eyes scanned the room until they found Noah. The boy was laughing with friends, paint on his fingers, joy on his face. Liam smiled before approaching Evelyn. "You were right. This is the perfect place to start." Evelyn nodded politely. "Please, do not make a scene. He does not know who you are yet." "I will not," he promised. "I just want to see him proud." The show began. Each child walked to the front to describe their artwork. When Noah's turn came, he grinned shyly and held his painting high for everyone to see. "This is my family," he said clearly. "My mom and me, and someone who keeps us safe, even if we cannot see him." Liam's throat tightened. The room blurred for a moment as he fought back the rush of emotion. Evelyn's hand trembled around the clipboard she held. After the applause, Noah spotted Liam near the back and waved enthusiastically, not realizing why the man's smile looked so pained. When the event ended, Liam helped fold chairs while others left. Evelyn approached cautiously. "You did not have to stay." He looked up. "I wanted to." She hesitated, then said softly, "He likes you, you know." Liam's voice dropped. "He should. I am his father." Evelyn winced, glancing around. "Not here." "Then when?" His frustration broke through the calm. "You have hidden him long enough. He deserves the truth. I am done pretending." "Do not raise your voice," she whispered sharply. "You think you can just walk in, claim him, and everything will be fine? This is not a press conference, Liam. This is a life you walked away from." "I did not walk away from him," he said through gritted teeth. "I walked away from us because I was afraid of what I could lose. But I am not afraid anymore." Before Evelyn could respond, a flash went off. Reporters had somehow found them, drawn by rumors of the reclusive billionaire's sudden stay in the small town. Cameras clicked rapidly. "Mr. Hart, is it true the boy is yours?" one shouted. Evelyn turned pale. "Liam, stop this before it gets out of hand." But it was too late. Liam stepped forward, shielding her and Noah from the crowd. His voice was calm, steady, and firm. "Yes," he said, facing the cameras. "He is my son. And this woman," he looked back at Evelyn, eyes shining, "is the only person who ever taught me what love actually means." The room erupted in chaos, flashes blinding them. Evelyn stood frozen, tears brimming in disbelief and fury. "You just turned our lives into a headline," she whispered. "I turned the truth into light," Liam replied softly. She stepped back, shaking her head. "You have no idea what you have done." And as the reporters swarmed closer, Evelyn grabbed Noah's hand and pushed through the crowd, her heart breaking all over again. Behind her, Liam stood still, surrounded by questions and cameras, realizing too late that his truth had come at a terrible cost. The news spread faster than either of them could breathe. By morning, every major outlet had run the headline. Billionaire Liam Hart confirms secret family. Photographs from the art show filled the internet, Evelyn holding Noah's hand, Liam standing beside them, flashes of light freezing what should have been a private moment into a public spectacle. Evelyn woke to dozens of messages and phone calls. The art center's inbox overflowed, and reporters crowded the sidewalk outside her small apartment building. Her phone buzzed again and again, but she ignored it. She sat on the couch, clutching Noah's backpack against her chest like armor. "Mom," Noah asked, rubbing his sleepy eyes, "why are there people outside?" Her throat tightened. "They just want to take pictures, but you do not have to worry. We will go stay somewhere else for a few days, all right?" He nodded quietly, sensing her fear. Across town, Liam sat in his hotel suite, staring at the television, replaying his own voice from the night before. Every word sounded heavier now. His assistant Claire entered, pale and anxious. "The board is furious," she said. "The stock dropped 5% overnight. They are demanding an explanation." Liam rubbed his forehead. "Let them demand. I will handle it." Quote, "Sir, this could destroy your reputation. You revealed a child you have never acknowledged publicly. They are calling it scandalous." Liam looked up slowly, his eyes clear. "It is only a scandal if I treat it like one." When Claire left, he walked to the window. the ocean stretching endlessly below. For years, that view had made him feel powerful. Now it made him feel small. Meanwhile, Evelyn packed what little she could fit into her car and drove Noah to her friend Lisa's house on the edge of town. Lisa took one look at her and understood. "I saw the news," Lisa said quietly. "You are on every channel." Evelyn sighed, pressing her palms to her face. "I never wanted this. He said he wanted to protect the truth, and now he has turned it into a circus." Lisa handed her a cup of tea. "Do you think he did it to hurt you?" Evelyn shook her head. "No, I think he did it to make up for the years he missed." But some mistakes cannot be fixed with good intentions. The following afternoon, Liam arrived at the art center. The once lively building was dark, the windows covered. Evelyn stood inside, packing boxes of supplies, preparing to close it temporarily until the attention died down. "Evelyn," he said softly. She froze but did not turn around. "You should leave." "I will not," he said, stepping closer. "I know what I did hurt you, but I could not hide anymore. I have spent years building an empire based on control, but the truth, our truth, was the first thing I was ever proud to speak out loud." She spun to face him, tears streaking down her cheeks. "You call this pride? My son is scared to go outside. My job, my peace, it is all gone because you wanted a headline of redemption." Liam's voice broke. "I did not do it for redemption. I did it because I was tired of being ashamed of the best part of my life." She stared at him for a long moment, the anger in her chest mixing with heartbreak. "Then prove it," she said finally. "Not with words, not with money. Prove it in a way that makes this right." Liam nodded slowly. "You are right. I cannot fix what I broke with one decision, but I can rebuild it piece by piece. Let me show you." Code. A week later, when the reporters lost interest and the headlines faded, Evelyn received an invitation in the mail. It was printed on thick paper embossed with gold lettering. "The Colors of Her Silence," a private exhibition curated by Hart Foundation. She stared at it for a long time, her heart caught between disbelief and longing. Beneath the title was a single handwritten note in Liam's familiar script. "If you still believe in us, come see what love looks like when it apologizes." Quote. That night, as Noah slept beside her, Evelyn held the invitation to her chest. For the first time in weeks, she allowed herself to hope that maybe, just maybe, he had finally understood what love truly meant: to build, to protect, and to begin again. The night of the exhibition arrived, quiet, yet filled with anticipation. The gallery lights glowed softly against the ocean breeze, the sign above the entrance reading, "The Colors of Her Silence." Evelyn Carter stood outside for a long moment before stepping in, her fingers gripping the small invitation like it might dissolve if she let go. Inside, the space was transformed. White walls framed canvases that captured every shade of emotion she had ever felt, but never spoken paintings she had once sold anonymously to survive. Each one bore her name now. E. Carter. The air smelled faintly of jasmine and new beginnings. At the center of the room, under a skylight, hung a large painting that made her breath hitch. It was her sketch, the same one she had drawn years ago on her balcony. But now it was recreated on a massive canvas. The woman stood in the rain, eyes closed, a torn piece of paper in her hand. Around her, light poured through the storm, turning sorrow into color. Beneath it was a plaque. "Dedicated to the woman who taught me that love is not a contract but a promise." L.H. Her knees almost gave out. She turned slowly and saw him. Liam stood across the gallery, no tie, no armor, just a man who looked like he had finally stopped running. "You did this," she whispered. He nodded, walking closer. "Every painting here belongs to you. You inspired them. I found the sketches you left behind at the art center before you left town. I wanted the world to see your story, not as scandal, but as truth." Her eyes filled with tears. "You should not have done this for me." "Good." "I did not," he said gently. "I did it for us, for what I destroyed and what I still want to rebuild. I cannot erase the pain, Evelyn, but I can honor it. I can love you the way I should have back then, without conditions, without pride." She looked around the room again, at the people quietly admiring her work, at the soft music playing, at the life she had created from pieces of heartbreak. "You have always been good at grand gestures," she said softly. "But what happens after the lights go out, Liam? When there is no one left to clap?" He stepped closer, his voice trembling with honesty. "Then I stay. I stay and build a home that is not made of walls or contracts. I stay until you believe that this time, love is real." Evelyn took a deep breath. "And Noah? He is the best thing I will ever do," Liam said without hesitation. "I do not want to take him from you. I want to earn my place beside you both." Quote, for a moment, silence wrapped around them, fragile but full of meaning. Evelyn studied his face, searching for the man she once loved, the man she had lost, and perhaps the one standing before her now. Finally, she smiled through her tears. "You still owe me an apology for the worst 6 years of my life," Liam smiled back, eyes shining. "Then I will spend the rest of my life saying it." He reached into his pocket and pulled out the same wedding ring he had once kept hidden. "I kept it because I could not let go. But this time, I do not want to give you a ring as part of a deal. I want to give it as a promise." She stared at him for a long moment, then held out her hand, her fingers trembling but steady. "Then promise me one thing, no more contracts. Only love." He slid the ring onto her finger, whispering, "Only love." At that moment, Noah ran in from the corner where he had been talking to the gallery staff, his small voice echoing through the hall. "Mom, look! They put my painting next to yours." Evelyn knelt and hugged him tightly. Liam crouched beside them, placing a hand on both their shoulders. For the first time, they felt like a family not hidden, not broken, but whole. The gallery lights dimmed as the night ended, and the reflection of the three of them shimmered on the glass wall together at last, framed not by contracts or secrets, but by forgiveness. Sometimes love needs time to find its way home. Would you have forgiven him if it were you? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below.